Good morning, noon, and night, my friends. You're here on What Game Should I Buy with your host, Patrick Jeffries. Thanks for tuning in. Glad you could be here. Was that a little too loud? Here, we'll turn it down slightly. We're talking about a game that I quite enjoyed called Live Alive on today's episode of What Game Should I Buy. Now, in case you don't know, What Game Should I Buy is just a video series I'm doing / podcast series about how to get the best bang for your buck. We don't have a whole lot of money to spare these days, and it seems like there's a constant stream of hundreds and hundreds of games coming out, especially today, right? So, come on here for just a quick review to let you know what's worth your time and where you should save your dime. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. So, I'm sure you saw the title, Live Alive. Right now you're seeing some footage of the remake. I'm going to tell you a little about this game and why I decided to talk about it today. Let's hop in. This is the Wikipedia for Live Alive. So, as you can see, it is a 1994 role-playing video game, and it was actually published by Square Enix, the same people behind Final Fantasy. Now, it was big in Japan, and then it later came to America. So, it has a bit of a cult following, as you say. Kind of one of those movies or games that is not well known to the public, but it has a passionate fan base. Now, this game was remade just a couple of years ago, actually, back in 2022, so 1 year ago. And the original release sold 270,000 units. And it was actually considered a failure by Square Enix. Now, the remake sold 500,000. So if that gives you an idea of how the game has grown to be sort of a beloved little passion project in the world of JRPGs. Because that's what it is. It's a JRPG. I said RPD. RPG. Now, the interesting thing about this is this game is unique because it has 7 different storylines that it takes you through. I'm going to hop over to another page here and I'll show each of these. Prehistory, the distant future, Imperial China, the Wild West, present day, the near future, and the twilight of Edo, Japan, which is like early 20th century, late 19th century, if I'm not mistaken. Let me fact check myself because I might just be talking out of my behind here. Let's type this in correctly. Okay, my computer's having a seizure, so bear with me. All right, here we go. We're good. Oh, yeah, I was completely wrong. 1603 to 1867. That's the Edo period of Japan. So, there are 7 different storylines, and they range across all sorts of different timelines, as you can tell. Now, the thing about it is, each of them are little vignettes, so they play differently. For instance, the prehistory is like a normal RPG where you gather a bunch of materials, you try and craft the best weapons, you have extra mini hidden bosses. But the distant future is actually just like a visual novel. You barely have any combat. I don't even know if you have any combat. It's just a little arcade game. And there's a whole bunch of things in between. Like the present day timeline is a little fighting game experience where you can go around like street fighting people. And there is a cool twist at the end of it that I don't want to reveal. But let me just say this. There may be more than 7 timelines, and they may somehow all tie together at the end of it. That's all I'm going to say. Just in case you are, really thinking about getting this game. Now, in terms of the people who developed the game and stuff, like I said, it was Square originally, and then the remake was Square Enix partnering with another studio called Historia. And they're a smaller studio, but they work under Square Enix pretty often. It's out on the Switch, so this is a Switch game. I know that can be a bummer for some people. I hope that they... actually, look, I'm looking right here. They actually have expanded it to the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So, feel free to pick it up on one of the Sony systems if you're feeling it. The director is Takashi Tokita. Now, this guy is relevant because he actually was the lead designer for Final Fantasy IV, and he worked on Chrono Trigger. He was the director of Chrono Trigger. And that's like the JRPG homage, right? The OG, the pioneer of the genre and stuff. So that's why Live Alive is still beloved, even though it's a smaller, not quite as knock out of the park. We're getting a disgusting ad right now. Oh my god. That was the most horrific ad I'd ever seen. I don't know if you could hear that, but it was an ad about pooping, and it showed someone struggling on a toilet to get, the thing out. That was horrifying, mildly traumatic. I'm going to gloss over that. Just be glad if you're an audio listener that you did not have to witness that. Anyway, that completely threw me off the rails here. I was going to show you a little more gameplay footage, but apparently my computer had other things in mind. Okay. Anyway, it's tile-based combat. If you don't know what that is, essentially that is where you take turns like a normal JRPG attacking, but it's along a grid of boards, so you can get flanking on your enemies and different elemental affinities for your attacks. Again, not in every storyline, right? But just as a rule of thumb, there are several storylines where you could do that. So I know I kind of been digging into the weeds of this game a little bit, and that is because I wanted to fully explain why I chose to get this game, or why I chose to present this game, rather. Because it's unique, and that's part of what I want to bring to What Game Should I Buy, is stuff that you maybe have kind of heard of, but you're not super familiar with. Everybody's heard of Ragnarok. Everybody knows Cyberpunk. I did one on Red Dead 2. Everyone knows that. I'm not saying I'm not going to do those, but I want to shed some, just give some props to some deeper cuts. That's all. Now, anyway, now that my rant is over, I will say, Live Alive, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it a 7. It's a good game. It's fun. It does some very unique and interesting things. The stories, they were really fun. The prehistoric timeline was absolutely hilarious. I mean, legitimately, some of these things had me, giggling. Is that a right thing for a dude to do? Can a dude giggle? Anyway, it had me chuckling. Had me doing the funnies. And the ending was satisfying. Now, the reason why I don't give it an 8 or a 9 is because it is a bit grindy. And I don't know. Personally, I hate the grind. That's just me. But it was a little too much. It was unnecessary. You had to go back and fight the same things over and over. It's cool if they allow you to go find secret bosses or secret passageways. In the Edo Japan timeline, they allow you to do that, and that's actually a lot of fun. I don't consider that grinding. But anywho, there was that, and there was some of the sameness of the combat. Even when you would jump timelines, they might have different storylines, but the combat, it felt like some timelines it was really difficult and you had to kind of plan it out, but for the most part you just breeze through it. You just mash the button, try and position yourself correctly. That's it. Boom, you're done. And so there's some weird balancing issues in this game where, like, depending on the timeline or the character you choose, whichever one you get more attached to might change your perception of the game, and that was mine. Now, if you are going to play this game, let me make you a recommendation. Start off on the prehistoric. That is fun. I started in the distant future timeline, and I had a weird perception of the game at first, because, like I mentioned, that's a visual novel, so it kind of threw me off. But, anywho, that's just a little tidbit of advice. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Ugh, forget all these ads. I keep getting ads in the background, in my background music. Okay. I'm on the Nintendo website, and you can get a digital or physical copy, $50, which is good. That's slightly cheaper than the normal Nintendo $60 price range. I heard the new Zelda is actually going to be $70, Tears for the Kingdom. So, $50 is alright. For what you get out of the game, you get a good 25 hours of gameplay, I would say. So it's a reasonable price. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a steal, but you're not going to feel let down or like you wasted your money with this game. Especially if you are a fan of JRPGs. If you're someone who appreciates like Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, Blue Dragon, and anything like that, Chrono Trigger, then I really recommend you check out this game because it is really unique story and it's fun and it's not too long. 25 hours, that might even be pushing it. Honestly, you could probably do it in 20 hours if you just kind of went through each story. But maybe an extra 5 hours for the extra content if you want to explore around and stuff. Another cool thing about this game that's different than most RPGs is you don't necessarily have to worry about gold and spending and like trading items. The only timeline you really have to worry about trading items is the prehistoric one. Other than that, it's fine. You just level up. And the grinding one it's not grinding for every timeline, so I will say that as well. And so I like that. In certain timelines, it's just a matter of skill getting down the combat. Like the present day one where you are doing a fighting game. That's just learning the movesets, and figuring out the counters. Anywho, it is cool, kind of a shotgun blast from the past of a whole bevy of genres to check out. And overall, like I said, giving it a 7 out of 10 for Live Alive or Live Alive. And that's what I want you to tweet at me, guys. Is it Live Alive or Live Alive? Because I still don't know. I genuinely don't know. I've beaten this game twice and I can't tell you. Okay, so tweet me at Uncle Memphis, or you can email me at wjeffries, Jeffries, 44901 at gmail.com. I'll have it all in the description. So, anywho, look forward to hearing back from you. And thanks for everyone who's been watching the episode so far. I appreciate you. One more thing before we close off. If you like Live Alive or Live Alive, then check out Dragon Quest. Great game. Very similar idea. Final Fantasy. You can't go wrong with that, of course. Kingdom Hearts. Somewhat similar style, and I think you would really appreciate that. If you like the visual novel aspect of it, I would recommend a game called Paradise Killer or Disco Elysium. Those are great. I did a review on Disco Elysium, so you can check that out too. It's tough to make recommendations of similar games because of the nature of this game. So if you like the fighting game portion, go for Street Fighter. It's a very similar style game. Okay, guys. Thanks again for tuning in, and much love to you.